Hey there, friends. Pastor Jason here. Glad you can join me for daily devotionals. I know I dropped off the face of the world. I had a family emergency come up and I've been gone and away from my desk for the past 2 weeks. So we're wrapping up Joshua finally today. When we last left, the promised land had been divided. Remember, we had all those maps and all that sort of thing. And now we're going to finish Joshua chapters 23, 24. It's the last teachings of Joshua to the Israelites. Now, Joshua's an old man at this point. Okay, he's about 110 when he crossed the Jordan. When we read about him taking the Israelites across the Jordan, he was in his 70s. So it's been about 40 years. So let's get right to it. Chapters 23 and 24. A long time after the Lord had given rest from all the enemies around them, Joshua was old, getting on in years. So Joshua summoned all Israel, including its elders, leaders, judges, and officers, and said to them, I'm getting on in years, and you have seen for yourselves everything the Lord your God did to all these nations on your account, because it was the Lord your God who was fighting for you. See, I have allotted these remaining nations to you as an inheritance for your tribes, including all the nations I have destroyed from the Jordan westward to the Mediterranean Sea. The Lord your God will force them back on your account and drive them out before you so that you can take possession of their land as the Lord your God promised you. Be very strong and continue obeying all that is written in the book of the law of Moses, so that you do not turn from it to the right or the left, and so that you do not associate with these nations remaining among you. Do not call on the names of their gods or make an oath to them. Do not worship them or bow down to them. Instead, remain faithful to the Lord your God as you have done to this day. The Lord has driven out great and powerful nations before you, and no one is able to stand against you to this day. One of you routed 1,000 because the Lord your God was fighting for you, as he promised. So be very diligent to love the Lord your God with your own well-being. For if you turn away and cling to the rest of these nations remaining among you, and if you intermarry or associate with them, and they with you, know for certain that the Lord your God will not continue to drive these nations out before you. They will become a snare and a trap for you, a scourge for your sides, and thorns in your eyes, until you disappear from this good land the Lord has given you. I am now going the way of all the earth, and you know with all your heart and all your soul that none of the good promises the Lord your God made to you has failed. Everything has fulfilled for you. Not one promise has failed, since every good thing the Lord your God promised you has come about. So he will bring on you every bad thing until he has annihilated you from this good land the Lord your God has given you. If you break the covenant of the Lord your God, which he commanded you, and go and worship other gods and bow down to them, the Lord's anger will burn against you, and you will quickly disappear from this good land he has given you. And lastly, chapter 24. Joshua assembled all the tribes of Israel at Shechem and summoned Israel's elders, leaders, judges, and officers, and they presented themselves before God. Joshua said to all the people, This is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. Long ago, your ancestors, including Terah, the father of Abraham, and Nahor, lived beyond the Euphrates River and worshipped other gods. But I took your father Abraham from the region beyond the Euphrates River, led him throughout the land of Canaan, and multiplied his descendants. I gave him Isaac, and to Isaac I gave Jacob and Esau. I gave the hill country of Seir to Esau as a possession, but Jacob and his sons went down to Egypt. Then I sent Moses and Aaron, and I plagued Egypt by what I did there, and afterward I brought you out. When I brought your fathers out of Egypt, and you reached the Red Sea, the Egyptians pursued your fathers with chariots and horsemen as far as the sea. Your fathers cried out to the Lord, so he put darkness between you and the Egyptians and brought the sea over them, engulfing them. Your own eyes saw what he did to Egypt. After that, you lived in the wilderness a long time. Later I brought you to the land of the Amorites who lived beyond the Jordan. They fought against you, but I handed them over to you. You possessed their land, and I annihilated them before you. Balak, son of Zippor, king of Moab, set out to fight against Israel. He sent for Balaam, son of Beor, to curse you, but I would not listen to Balaam. Instead, he repeatedly blessed you and delivered you from his hand. You then crossed the Jordan and came to Jericho. The people of Jericho, as well as the Amorites, the Perizzites, the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Girgashites, the Hivites, and Jebusites, fought against you, but I handed them over to you. I sent the hornet ahead of you, and it drove out the 2 Amorite kings before you. It was not by your sword or bow. I gave you a land you did not labor for, and cities you did not build. Though you live in them, you are eating from vineyards and olive groves you did not plant. Therefore, fear the Lord and worship him in sincerity and truth. Get rid of the gods your fathers worshiped beyond the Euphrates River and in Egypt, and worship Yahweh. But if it doesn't please you to worship Yahweh, choose for yourselves today the one you will worship, the gods your fathers worshipped beyond the Euphrates River, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land you are living. As for me and my family, we will worship Yahweh. The people replied, we will certainly not abandon the Lord to worship other gods, for the Lord our God brought us and our fathers out of the land of Egypt, out of the place of slavery, and performed these great signs before our eyes. He also protected us all along the way. We went and among all the peoples whose lands we traveled through. The Lord drove out before us all the peoples, including the Amorites who lived in the land. We too will worship the Lord because he is our God. But Joshua told the people, you will not be able to worship Yahweh because he is a holy God. He is a jealous God. He will not remove your transgressions and sins. If you abandon the Lord and worship foreign gods, he will turn against you, harm you, and completely destroy you after he has been good to you. No, the people answered Joshua, we will worship the Lord. Joshua then told the people, you are witness against yourselves that you yourselves have chosen to worship Yahweh. We are witnesses, they said. Then get rid of the foreign gods that are among you and offer your heart to the Lord, the God of Israel. So the people said to Joshua, we will worship the Lord our God and obey him. On that day, Joshua made a covenant for the people at Shechem and established a statute and ordinance for them. Joshua recorded these things in the book of the law of God. He also took a large stone and set it up under the oak next to the sanctuary of the Lord. And Joshua said to all the people, you see this stone? It will be a witness against us, for it has heard all the words the Lord said to us, and it will be a witness against you, so that you will not deny your God. Then Joshua sent the people away, each to his own inheritance. After these things, the Lord's servant Joshua, son of Nun, died at the age of 110. They buried him in his allotted territory at Timnath-Serah in the hill country of Ephraim, north of Mount Gaash. Israel worshiped Yahweh throughout Joshua's lifetime and during the lifetime of the elders who outlived Joshua and who had experienced all the works Yahweh had done for Israel. Joseph's bones, which the Israelites had brought up from Egypt, were buried at Shechem in the parcel of land Jacob had purchased from the sons of Hamor, Shechem's father, for 100 quistas. It was an inheritance for Joseph's descendants. And Eleazar, son of Aaron, died, and they buried him in Gibeah, which had been given to his son Phinehas in the hill country of Ephraim. Thus the ending of Joshua. Joshua pleading with the Israelites to remain faithful to the Lord. The Lord has been faithful with them. They are to remain faithful to him. And we see that, we see that belief carry through even beyond him just a little bit. It's important to know to know like how important leadership is, and is the leadership following the Lord. And I love, but more importantly, I just love the emphasis of the Lord's faithfulness to the Israelites. The Lord is faithful to those who believe in him. And frankly, he's also faithful to those who don't believe in him, right? So like he does carry out his justice on those who don't believe in him. And I would encourage you, he has been honest about himself. He's been honest with you in his word. Come to know Jesus. Know Jesus. Have faith in him. Those who don't experience heaven. That's a hard thing to hear, I know. But those who do have faith in him, they believe first and then they are blessed. If you have to see something to believe it, that's really not belief, is it? It's just witnessing. May we believe first and then be blessed in everything in our lives. And I hope Joshua has been a blessing to you. Thanks for sticking with me. Sorry again for the extended pause for these last 2 chapters. And I'll see you tomorrow as we start Judges. Or I might take a break for the summer. I haven't even decided. I'm just now back in my office. I might take a break and do something more simple, and maybe like church definitions and stuff like that over the summer break. I don't know. Hey, be blessed. Be a blessing. And maybe I'll see you tomorrow.